Chapter 12, Part 1. May 4th, 19 1 o'clock is a somewhat unearthly hour to be writing in a journal. The truth is, I've been undergoing a white night. I can't sleep, and I'm tired of lying in the dark fancying things, unpleasant things. So I've lighted my candle and hunted up my old diary to write it out. I've never written in this journal since the night I burned my book and fell downstairs and died, coming back to life to find everything changed and all things made new, and unfamiliar and dreadful. It seems a lifetime ago. As I turn over the pages and glance at those gay, light-hearted entries, I wonder if they were really written by me, Emily Bird Starr. Night is beautiful when you are happy, comforting when you are in grief, terrible when you are lonely and unhappy. And tonight, I have been horribly lonely. Misery overwhelmed me. I never seem to be able to stop halfway in any emotion, and when loneliness does seize hold on me, it takes possession of me, body and soul, and wrings me in its blank pain until all the strength and courage go out of me. Tonight, I am lonely. Love will not come to me. Friendship is lost to me. Most of all, as I verily feel, I cannot write. I have tried repeatedly and failed. The old creative fire seems to have burned out into ashes, and I cannot rekindle it. All the evening I try to write a story, a wooden thing in which wooden puppets moved when I jerked the strings. I finally tore it into 1,000 pieces and felt that I did God service. These past weeks have been bitter ones. Dean has gone. Where, I know not. He has never written, never will, I suppose. Not to be getting letters from Dean when he is away seems strange and unnatural. And yet, it is terribly sweet to be free once more. Ilsa writes me that she is to be home for July and August. Also, that Teddy will be, too. Perhaps this latter fact partly accounts for my white night. I want to run away before he comes. I have never answered the letter he wrote me after the sinking of the Flavian. I could not write of that. And if when he comes he speaks of it, I shall not be able to bear it. Will he guess that it is because I love him that I was able to set at naught the limitations of time and space to save him? I am ready to die of shame at the thought of it, and at the thought of what I said to Mrs. Kent. Yet, somehow, I have never been able to wish that unsaid. There was a strange relief in the stark honesty of it. I am not afraid she will ever tell him what I said. She would never have him know I cared if she could prevent it. But I'd like to know how I am to get through the summer. There are times when I hate life. Other times, again, when I love it fiercely, with an agonized realization of how beautiful it is, or might be, if. Before Dean went away, he boarded up all the windows of the disappointed house. I never go where I can see it. But I do see it for all that, waiting there on its hill, waiting, dumb, blind. I have never taken my things out of it, which Aunt Elizabeth thinks a sure indication of insanity. and I don't think Dean did either. Nothing has been touched. Mona Lisa is still mocking in the gloom, and Elizabeth Bass is tolerantly contemptuous of temperamental idiots, and the Lady Giovanna understands it all. My dear little house, and it is never to be a home. I feel as I felt that evening years ago when I followed the rainbow and lost it. There will be other rainbows, I said then. But will there be? Part 2, May 15th, 19 This has been a lyric spring day, and a miracle has happened. It happened at dawn, when I was leaning out of my window, listening to a little whispery, tricksy wind of morning blowing out of Lofty John's bush. Suddenly, the flash came, again, after these long months of absence, my old inexpressible glimpse of eternity. And all at once, I knew I could write. I rushed to my desk and seized my pen. All the hours of early morning I wrote, and when I heard Cousin Jimmy going downstairs, I flung down my pen and bowed my head over my desk in utter thankfulness that I could work again. Get leave to work. In this world 'tis the best you get at all, for God in cursing gives us better gifts than men in benediction. So wrote Elizabeth Barrett Browning, and truly, it is hard to understand why work should be called a curse, until one remembers what bitterness, forced or uncongenial labor is. But the work for which we are fitted, which we feel we are sent into the world to do, what a blessing it is, and what fullness of joy it holds. I felt this today as the old fever burned in my fingertips, and my pen once more seemed a friend. Leave to work. One would think anyone could obtain so much. But sometimes anguish and heartbreak forbid us the leave. And then we realize what we have lost, and know that it is better to be cursed by God than forgotten by him. If he had punished Adam and Eve by sending them out to idleness, then indeed they would have been outcast and accursed. Not all the dreams of Eden, whence the 4 great rivers flow, could have been as sweet as those I am dreaming tonight, because the power to work has come back to me. O God, as long as I live, give me leave to work. Thus pray I. Leave and courage. Part 3, May 25th, 19 Dear sunshine, what a potent medicine you are. All day I reveled in the loveliness of the wonderful white bridal world. And tonight I washed my soul free from dust in the aerial bath of a spring twilight. I chose the old hill road over the delectable mountain for its solitude, and wandered happily along, pausing every few moments to think out fully some thought or fancy that came to me like a winged spirit. Then I prowled about the hill fields till long after dark, studying the stars with my field glass. When I came in, I felt as if I had been millions of miles away in the blue ether, and all my old familiar surroundings seemed momentarily forgotten and strange. But there was one star at which I did not look, Vega of the Lyre. Part 4, May 30th, 19 This evening, just when I was in the middle of a story, Aunt Elizabeth said she wanted me to weed the onion bed. so I had to lay down my pen and go out to the kitchen garden. But one can weed onions and think wonderful things at the same time, glory be. It is one of the blessings that we don't always have to put our souls into what our hands may be doing, praise the gods. For otherwise, who would have any soul left? So I weeded the onion bed and roamed the Milky Way in imagination. Part 5. June 10th, 19 Cousin Jimmy and I felt like murderers last night. We were. Baby killers at that. It is one of the springs when there is a crop of maple trees. Every key that fell from a maple this year seems to have grown. All over the lawn and garden and old orchard, tiny maple trees have sprung up by the hundreds. And, of course, they have to be rooted out. It would never do to let them grow. So we pulled them up all day yesterday and felt so mean and guilty over it. The dear tiny baby things, they have a right to grow, a right to keep on growing into great, majestic, splendid trees. Who are we to deny it to them? I caught Cousin Jimmy in tears over the brutal necessity. I sometimes think, he whispered, that it's wrong to prevent anything from growing. I never grew up, not in my head. And last night, I had a horrible dream of being pursued by thousands of indignant young maple tree ghosts. They crowded around me, tripped me up, thrashed me with their boughs, smothered me with their leaves. And I woke, gasping for breath and nearly frightened to death, but with a splendid idea for a story in my head. The Vengeance of the Tree. Part 6. June 15th, 19 I picked strawberries on the banks of Blairwater this afternoon, among the windy, sweet-smelling grasses. I love picking strawberries. The occupation has in it something of perpetual youth. The gods might have picked strawberries on high Olympus without injuring their dignity. A queen, or a poet, might stoop to it. A beggar has the privilege. And tonight, I've been sitting here in my dear old room, with my dear books and dear pictures, and dear little window of the kinky panes, dreaming in the soft, odorous summer twilight, while the robins are calling to each other in Lofty John's bush, and the poplars are talking eerily of old forgotten things. After all, it's not a bad old world, and the folks in it are not half bad either. Even Emily Bird Starr is decent in spots. Not altogether the false, fickle, ungrateful perversity she thinks she is in the wee smaws. Not altogether the friendless, forgotten maiden she imagines she is on white nights. Not altogether the failure she supposes bitterly, when 3 MSS are rejected in succession. And not altogether the coward she feels herself to be, when she thinks of Frederick Kent's coming to Blairwater in July.